Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate and this is where we talk about all things book related. So if you're interested in that stuff, give me a follow because I love connecting with other readers. Now today we're gonna do something a little odd because I just noticed that I've been on Goodreads since 2015. So today I'm gonna list every single book that I've rated 5 stars. I have rated hundreds of books and only a few are 5 stars. I actually haven't counted them. I haven't even gone through this list. We're just gonna, go through it one by one and see if I remember them. Now, disclaimer, this was 10 years ago. So there's a chance that I wouldn't have rated it 5 stars today because I've recently gotten more into reading than I was back then. Back then I probably read maybe 1 or 2 books a year. Now I read like 80 plus books a year. So we'll see if I still agree or if I even remember the books. So let's get into it. Now these are in no particular order. I literally just sorted all the books I've read by rating and I'm gonna go through them. The first one in here is Pemberley Manor by Catherine L. Nelson. Now I do kind of remember this book. It's based on the Pride and Prejudice novel. If you hear Pemberley, that kind of is a giveaway, but it's not written by Jane Austen, so it's kind of this author's take on what happened after that book ended. And I just remember really liking it. I have no clue what it was about, but I do remember enjoying being able to read more about the story. Maybe I'll read it again. I did remember liking it though. Next one on here is My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. I'm assuming a lot of you have read this book or at least watched the movie. If you've not read the book and only watched the movie, I highly recommend you check out the book because it's a whole different ballgame. The book has a completely different ending and it's what makes it so special and so heartbreaking. I mean, even the movie's heartbreaking, but the book is just, I can't even, it's so hard to even put myself through that again, but it's great book. Highly recommend you check that one out. Next one on here is Blue-Eyed Devil by Lisa Kleypas. Now, I remember reading this in grade 12, maybe even younger, and it's a spicy romance novel. Probably shouldn't have been reading that in grade 12, but it did focus on domestic violence, and I think that's why I liked it so much because as a teenager, I went through something kind of like that, and I remember really relating to this character and some of the quotes from it. I haven't read it in a very long time, but I still think I would have rated it 5 stars. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you like romances, because it's kind of what it is. Like the bad boy gets the girl type thing, but yeah, it does touch on domestic violence, which I think is always an important subject. And I do remember having some pretty good quotes in that regard. The next ones on here are the Harry Potter novels. Now, I love the Harry Potter novels. They're what got me into reading. The stories are just amazing. I'm not going to get into it too much because I bet you a lot of you have read them. So I think I rated them all 5 stars. Next one on this list is World Without End by Ken Follett. This is the second Kingsbridge novel. Now I think the first one's on here too. I love the Kingsbridge novels. I don't even know why, because I'm usually a thriller girly. This isn't a thriller. It's kind of a historical fiction type, but like not just Middle Ages, like from a long time ago, but the books are long and I think that it just really helps you connect with the characters. So that's why I like them so much. I actually finished the 4th one today, now that we're talking about it. I didn't like the 4th one as much, but the first 3, definitely 5 stars, but you have to commit a lot of time to them because they're very long. Next one on here is Pride and Prejudice. If you saw the first one, you would know probably that Pride and Prejudice would be on here too. I listen to that as an audiobook a lot because for some reason, especially if it has a good narrator, it helps me take in the information better than reading. But I just love that era. I wish I grew up in that era. It's beautiful to read about, and especially because it's so old. It's just interesting to put yourself in that time frame, so I rated it 5 stars. Next one on here is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Rios Zafran. I don't remember this book. It's 5 stars. I remember reading it, but I don't remember what it's about. I'm just looking it up right now because I don't know. I don't remember what it was about. It says it takes place in Barcelona, 1945. A city slowly heals from its war wounds and Daniel, an antiquarian, don't know how to say that. Book dealer's son who mourns the loss of his mother finds solace in a mysterious book entitled The Shadow of the Wind. But when he sets out to find the author's other works, he makes a shocking discovery. Someone has been systematically destroying every copy of every book he's ever written. In fact, Daniel might have the last of the books in existence. An epic story of murder, madness, and doomed love. I honestly don't remember what happens in this book at all, but I rated it 5 stars, so maybe I'll check it out again. Let me know if you in the comments if you've read it before. Let me know if you liked it. Next one here is The Pillars of the Earth, which is the first Kingsbridge novel. So I kind of already talked about that one. Next one is Anne of Green Gables. I think I did read that book, but I probably just rated it 5 stars because I'm Canadian and it's a Canadian book. So that's probably why I did. And then the Harry Potter ones. Next is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I've talked about this on my channel before. That was like the first book that ever like gave me a jaw-dropping twist. I was just floored. I read it as an audiobook and I remember being like, oh my God. The movie's okay, but the book, it just, I don't know. I wish I could read that book for the first time again. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you do before watching the movie. Next one is Into the Darkest Corner by Elizabeth Haynes. I don't really remember this one at all, but I also think that this one might have been about domestic violence, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think that's what this is about. So it's like she went through a traumatic experience and then she's trying to go back to her normal life. And then she gets a phone call and turns her world upside down. I don't really remember this book, but I do remember liking it, so I might check it out again. Next one is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Now this one, I remember bawling my eyes out. It is so sad. I think they made a movie about it too, but I've not seen it. I do remember this one. It's kind of about, it's a romance novel. I think it's about like the guy gets in an accident where he becomes paralyzed and then just kind of learning to live after that. If you love a tearjerker, this one definitely is for you. Next one on here is Winter of the World, which is another trilogy by Ken Follett. It's the Century trilogy. This one, the other one I think was about World War I, the first one, and I liked it, but I think I only rated it 4 stars. This one's about World War II, and I definitely remember, I love a lot of World War II novels. You'll probably see them on here a lot. Again, it's a really long book, so you have to be committed, but I did really like it. The second one on here is The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. I love Kate Morton, and this one again is a World War II kind of historical fiction. The twist, it's not a thriller, but it kind of has some thriller type similarities to it. The twist at the end is just like, it's crazy, and I love this book. Next one on here is The King's Curse, which I guess is number 7 of the Tudor novels by Philippa Gregory. I do remember reading, if not all of them, I've read most of them. This was back in 2017. I don't remember. I remember bits and pieces of, there's a lot of them, so this crazy that I read that many. I don't remember what this one was about, but I guess I liked it more than the other ones because I rated it 5 stars. Next one is The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. That's the same author that does Big Little Lies, if you've ever seen that show or read that book. I don't really remember what it was about, but I think it also had a twist at the end. Usually twists at the end get me, and that can be the difference between a 4 and a 5 star. The next book, is actually the 3rd of the trilogy from Ken Follett, The Edge of Eternity. This one, I think it kind of took place in 2 different time frames, like present day when that book came out, and then also in the past, like, I don't really remember, but I do remember liking this one. I like the second one and the third one, not as much as the first one wasn't as good. It was still good, but not as good. But again, long novels, you got to be committed. Next one on here is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I've mentioned this one before. It's kind of in the Alice in Wonderland world. Totally different than anything I've ever read before. I guess it's fantasy. I'm not really a fantasy girly, but this one was kind of about the Queen of Hearts before she became the Queen of Hearts and why she became the Queen of Hearts. It's a great book, highly recommend. Let me know in the comments if you read that one. Actually, let me know if you read any of them. The next one on here is Invisible by James Patterson. I remember reading this as an audiobook and having to pull over because it literally made me nauseous. This is definitely check your trigger warnings. This was very graphic, very gross, but I did remember liking it, which I don't know what type of person that makes me, but I did remember liking it. I think it was the twist, but yeah, definitely gross details. Next on here is Leaving Time by Jodi Picoult, another one. I don't remember this one at all. And when on Goodreads, the description is not in English, so if anybody wants to comment what this one is about, I would love to jog my memory because I rated it 5 stars and I don't remember now. Next one on here is another Kate Morton novel, The Lake House. I don't really remember what this one was about either, but I think I just like Kate Morton because she really describes the characters, and it's like the Kingsbridge novels in that it takes place, they're long books, so they really get to know the characters, and so then by the end you just really feel connected to them, and there's usually a twist in the Kate Morton novels, and I think that's why I liked it so much. Yeah, I don't remember the specific details of this book, but I rated it 5 stars, so I must have liked it. Next one is Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. I know that they made a Netflix movie about this one with Mila Kunis in it, and I recently watched that one because I couldn't remember the book at all, and I wanted to remember what it was about. It did jog my memory, and I do remember liking this. It's really hard to watch or read or watch because it kind of talks about a school shooting. But it has some like domestic violence as well. So, or assault, I guess. It wasn't domestic violence. It's like an assault. I don't know. I do remember liking this book, so check it out. Next one on here is Bright Side by Kim Holden. If you've seen my prior videos, you've seen me talk about this one, but it's about this girl who always looks on the bright side of things. But then halfway through the book that there's like a twist that by the end of this book, I was bawling. I just love that book. I highly recommend you check it out. It was one of those ones that was on my list to read from the beginning, and I was trying to go back to my TBR at the very beginning and reading all those books, so I finally read it and definitely don't regret it. It was a great book. Next one on here is I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. This twist was crazy, jaw-dropping twist, so that's why I got the 5 stars. Definitely recommend you check it out. I guess it's a thriller. I think it's classified as a thriller, but it was also kind of sad. Next one on here is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I know this is one of those ones on like book talk and social media that people are like either really like this book or really don't. I was one that really did. I read it a long time ago though. I would recommend you check this one out and let me know if you like that one. Next one on here is Appetite for Innocence. I love Lucinda Berry, but this one is my highest rated Lucinda Berry book. It's dark. It's hard to read, but it got 5 stars for a reason. Next one on here is The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer, another World War II novel. A lot of World War II novels get on this list, but it takes place in 2 time periods. One is during World War II, one is present day, and the twist is kind of crazy on this one too. Next one in here is The Passengers by John Mars. Now this one had my heart thumping. I have talked about this one on my prior videos. It is like, it's like watching a thriller movie when you're reading that book. You can't stop reading. Next one on here is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I'm surprised this one was 5 stars. I didn't remember liking this one that much. I'm the type of person that will rate a book like right after I read it within seconds because I want whatever my gut reaction to that book. Yeah, I do remember this book. It was kind of weird, but I liked it. I don't know. I guess gut reaction after I read it was 5 stars. Next one in here is Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. yeah, this one was my favorite Jennifer Hillier books. I know a lot of people like Jar of Hearts, but I like this one better. I guess I'm kind of going through these quick now, but I'm trying to, there's a lot more than I thought there was. Next was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. That's another one that's like, some people love, some people hate. I liked it. Again, I read this a few years ago, so maybe if I read it now, I wouldn't like it as much. I recently recommended it to somebody who isn't liking it as much. So now that got me thinking maybe I wouldn't like it as much, but I think it was the twist at the end. It's always the twist at the end. Next one on here was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I remember being scared when I read this book. I literally had to put it away because I was scared. Next one on here is Hostage by Claire McIntosh. Now this is another heart thumping, feels like you're watching a thriller. I needed to know what happened. It's basically like a girl who is a flight attendant has to decide whether to like save everybody on board or save her daughter, and she has to make that choice. So I don't know. I needed to keep reading to see what happened. Next is My Darling Husband by Kimberly Bell. I got this one because it just happened to be available. I don't like to buy books, so I get them from my library or through Libby, and it was available at the time, so I got it and I really liked it. Yeah, it's kind of like the mother and the kids get kidnapped, and then the husband has to like put up a ransom for them and see what happens. But I do remember liking that one. I think it was another like heart pumping one that made me like it. I think I also felt satisfied with the ending as well, so that's another reason why I liked it. Next one on here is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. Now I read this as a physical book, which you have to. I don't think I would like the audiobook at all because the pictures in the book is what makes it so special. Another book that actually scared me while I was reading it. I was scared. Definitely recommend you check that one out. Next one on here was my favorite book of 2024, which was The Change by Kirsten Miller. It just had a little bit of everything. It had the thriller aspects, like detective novel type things, but then it also had some supernatural elements to it. And the biggest thing was just the women empowering aspect of the novel. That's what made me like it so much. Definitely check it out. Next one on here is Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. That's the third one on here. I like this one a lot because it was the first book I read that was kind of about COVID and just that time of our lives, because I thought that was kind of interesting because like eventually that's all going to be in the history novels, and this was the first book I read that kind of talked about that. Next one is The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. I've talked about this one before. I really like both Julie Clark novels, The Last Flight and this one. Next one on here is Solido by Javier Zamora. Normally I don't rate non-fictions because who am I to put a rating on a story that was actually lived through, but this one was so good to read. I highly recommend. Next one on here is Ask for Andrea by Noelle Ely. I really like this one. I recently watched a video about a girl that didn't like this one, and I'm like, how could you not like it? I really did like it. I know I'm saying that a lot. Highly recommend. Next one on here is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This was my first Frida McFadden book I read, and I don't think any of the other ones live up to it, but actually I do have Never Lie on this list as well. I'll talk about that now. So I had The Housemaid and Never Lie as 5 stars. All the other books, they're okay, but nothing as crazy. That was another jaw-dropping twist in my opinion. Next on here is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I normally don't really read a lot of romance, but this one was just like, it wasn't that corny. I liked it because I really enjoyed how she portrayed the man in the relationship, and I really liked that one, so highly recommend. Next one is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Just the twists in this one, you couldn't keep up. It just was twist after twist after twist, and I love a good twist. Next one is The Woman by Kristen Hanna. And that was the last one. I know that a lot of people like The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, but I didn't like that one as much, but The Woman was actually really good. That was my list of 5 stars all the 5 stars I've ever given in history of my Goodreads, which was 10 years ago. Let me know in the comments if you agree with any, if you've read any, because I'd love to hear what you think too, especially if the ones that I don't remember reading. I feel like I need to go back and reread them again, because if I liked them back then, I probably would like them now, but who knows. If you like this video, please hit like, because I appreciate that so much, and see you next time.